Hello everyone. I read the 2 chapters of the book of Haggai, and I want to share the message that I felt the Lord wanted me to share with you all. Mind you, I have read the chapters before about a year or so ago, but for some reason this time it resonated more and I understood the message more clearly. So who was Haggai? So I look at the name of Haggai, and it means in Hebrew festive, festal, or gathered for festival, and also it translates festival of the Lord. And that can be found in BibleStudyTools.com, which may be appropriate as he was prompting the people to build the temple to worship God. They needed Haggai's push as they were stalled in all directions. Haggai was a prophet that God used and instructed to deliver a message that will force the people to reevaluate their heart posture and also reevaluate what their priorities were at that time. As the Lord had given Haggai instruction to tell the people that they must rebuild the temple as they had promised. However, God expected for the people's response to be one of a willing and enthusiastic heart. But that was not the case with the people. Instead, they began to make excuses. In order to understand what was going on, I'm going to compare and contrast to both the physical temple and our temple, which is our body as a temple of God, and also explain how these people's intentions determine the progress of rebuilding the temple and also God's blessings upon their lives. So what was the problem, and what was happening with the people, and why were they stalling the progress to build the temple? To be clear on their stance in God, we need to understand that while they did not revert to idol worshiping like prior generations, they did, however, become distant from God. And as a result, they did not continue to worship God as they once used to. Jeremiah 10 verse 8, but they are altogether dull-hearted and foolish. Dull-hearted, according to the KJV Student Bible, means unreceptive, which seems to correlate with the people's behavior in this case. Because of the spiritual decline, they also experienced procrastination, and this was demonstrated by them giving excuses for not rebuilding the temple due to them feeling like it was not the right time. Another contributing factor to their spiritual decline was the fact that they became more and more preoccupied with their lifestyles and with their own homes, which they made it their top priorities. They lost sight of the promise to God to rebuild the temple. As a result, the temple laid in the deplorable conditions and deterioration, which was visible to everyone, but they continued to ignore. They also ignore the significance of God's instruction of rebuilding the holy temple, which was the meeting place of the living God, and a place that he designated where they can enter to be close to God's presence. They were lacking the spiritual closeness to God, not taking care of their spiritual needs as God had instructed them to do, and not following the promise, and they were placing themselves before God. So what happened to them? They began to also be affected in their physical body, which meant that they were struggling spiritually, and their souls were being placed at risk if they continue to become distant from God. Continue to video 2.